Hello, everyone. Welcome on in to the latest Betting Weekly Dojo with myself, Nigel Seeley. And look, what's as if by magic, we are here live, coming together. My old muckachanas, how are you?
Well, this is weird. It feels quite weird. I mean, apart from the fact we've never done a dojo in the same room, we haven't actually been in the same room for some years.
How many years do you think it is? I mean, it must be.
I mean, it's the weirdest thing. Nigel Seeley is a man I speak to all the time. I haven't actually seen you in the flesh for, well, I don't know. It must be 7 years.
Well,
yeah.
Well, I mean, it was something that we sort of took for granted many years ago. I think we beat each other.
Yeah, you were sick of me, and now you finally
needed a 7-year break.
Crawling back.
You've needed it.
Absolutely crawling back to me.
But it's nice. You're watching the show. You're thinking like, how well we are here. Of all the places that we could have met, we just bumped into each other in Montpellier, in the south of France.
Lovely place to be.
Beautiful.
For a day trip, didn't we, Nigel? We've come to watch the tennis. We're going to watch some tennis tomorrow. Yep. We've had some bets.
We
haven't had any bets yet.
We're definitely going to have some bets.
We have some bets anyway. It's a bit pointless coming all this way.
Hopefully cash some tickets. Well, first thing we've done, we come out here. Well, it's an hour and 10 minutes on the plane from London. The weather, we've been sitting outside.
Fabulous.
Having a nice bit of lunch.
Fabulous.
Amazing, isn't it?
Fabulous. It's amazing. Yeah. Get over here.
Yeah.
The tournament's on for another week. You can get 50 quid on the plane to go over here. Less.
That's first class. $29.99 if you want to go on the EasyJet Express that I did this morning.
I left Nigel in the back of the plane.
Now, let me just say something. Neil was here before me, and he told me, "Don't worry, just leave. Get yourself in the town. Ring me up. No problem. I'll come and find you." He had a lie-in. 2 hours. I was walking around.
I was a little bit late.
2 hours. I was walking around.
That.
No. Well, it's well worth the wait.
You got to see Montpellier. It was lovely.
I thought you were going to be so excited to see me after 7 years that you would have been at the airport picking me up, but no, wandering the streets of south of France. Anyway, we're here for the tennis and action. Betting Weekly game bet matches on there. Sean Cavill will have a bet with myself a little bit later on today. We'll be looking at the action tomorrow. As I said, myself and Neil will be at the tennis tomorrow. You can follow.
I'm not going to do anything until I see what Sean says about it.
You're a very wise man, and if you want to follow the action, you can on Betting Weekly game bet match, and you can have all the action here. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. Get it in nice and early. Hit that subscribe button.
Yeah, just press that button. Do join us every week. Don't be shy. It doesn't cost anything. It says subscribe. It doesn't mean you have to pay money. And hit the like. And if you make comments as well in the chat box, we do respond to them. And also, it's very good for the algorithm. More people get to see the shows. And we really want to get to 10,000 subscribers soon. And we're hovering in, I don't know, what are we, 7,300, something like that. I mean, honestly, this show should really get us up to 8,000, really.
Well, hopefully that, or not back down to 7, depending how the show goes today.
Press the button. Come on.
We always start each show how our betting week has been, and you've reminded me 3 times in the last 2 hours that on episode 9 you gave the Philadelphia Eagles to win Super Bowl.
I think it was episode 4.
Oh, 4. Okay, well, not one to remind me.
No, you said who do you fancy to win the Super Bowl? I remember that, and I was a bit boring. So actually, I haven't actually had a bet on anyone to win the Super Bowl, but I have had a bet on someone to win the NFC. So we've won already. The Philadelphia Eagles, 6-1 I was on, and I did mention it. Didn't keep it secret. And it was funny, actually, because I went back to look and see what I actually said. And you said to me, who do you fancy to win the Super Bowl? And I said, well, I'm going to play someone to win the NFC because I think the NFC is a little bit easier because I felt like, you've got to get over the hump of Kansas if you play in the AFC. And you said, well, why don't we just bet Kansas? Aren't they brilliant? Don't they just win every time?
That's what I've just led to believe.
And I said, well, yeah, actually, that is kind of slightly true. They have become a dynasty. They do seem to kind of just get it done. But of course, parity, the way it works in NFL is that you get easier fixtures. If you have a bad season, you get harder fixtures if you have a good season. And in the draft, you get to pick more players or better players if you've had a bad season. So I kind of thought that there'd be a regression to the mean with Kansas, but they seem to overcome it every year, don't they? Just because they have such talent and they sort of find a way to get it done, basically. It's a fascinating Super Bowl, I think. I'm sure that the professional money will be on Philadelphia because any kind of statistical analysis, any analytics, any looking at the numbers is going to say Philadelphia are the better team. But Kansas have just got talented individuals who can just do it on the day. And they're like in a horse race. You know, when you have a horse that's going up the handicap, they win some handicaps and they go up a couple of pounds each time for winning. If they win snugly and cozily and they don't expose their true talent, they can keep winning and run up a sequence. I feel like that's Kansas are the handicapper of the thing. You know, they've worked out the system for winning in the NFL. But I think, yeah, if you gave me a bet now, you give me a free bet, I'm sure you're going to. I would definitely be with Philadelphia.
I think they're only what, 1.5, one.
Kansas, yeah, the look at
underdogs. Sorry.
So they have a look ahead line where they have a line that's set, you know, prior to when there's still 4 teams left in. They have all the possible combinations, and they said if the final is between Kansas and Philly, then the line will be Kansas by 1.5. Some books open 1.5, some books open 1, and it's a solid 1.5 now. But I think if I had to guess which way it would go, I think the public will bet Kansas. I could see it going to 2 or even 2.5. Obviously, 3 is a big number. It's not really going to hit that. But I think that's much more likely than moving the other way towards Pick'em. Yeah, I think Kansas will be where the public money is. And obviously in the Super Bowl, the money is often for over. The total open, I think the look-ahead total was 49.5. Some books hung 49 as a number, and some books hung 50. I think if I had to guess where it'll end up, it'll be much nearer to 50 than 49. I think, you know, because the public always like to bet over.
Yeah, and that's all to come here on Betting Weekly Studios next Friday, I think it is. We've got a Betting Weekly Live special with Doug, RJ, and I think Neil's going to join us as well.
So, if you'll have me. I like Doug. I like to hear what he's saying. Doug's been brilliant on the Super Bowl, on the American football so far, and I'm interested in his thoughts. Yeah, I'd like to hang out with those guys if possible.
Yeah, that's all coming here on the channel. It's all about today. Anyway, what a great... We always talk about our betting week. And I'm really glad I've come out here for the day because I needed to get away because my week last week was...
I saw you moaning.
No, I never moan. I never moan about betting. Listen, if I can tell you this, I had a tip for a horse at Cheltenham, 20-1 shot. I can't remember what it was called now, but they jumped the last.
Yeah.
The plus 450 favourite made a mistake.
Yeah, I was
the 20-1 shot. The plus 450
Did I give you the tip?
No, he won the 20-1 shot.
Yeah.
He got beat on the line.
Yeah,
I was on that. So that was my week.
I was on that. Yeah, that was my biggest bet of the day on Saturday.
And he got beat at a short. He made a mistake, so I thought I won a 20-1 winner. Then I bet Liverpool to win to 0.
I was on a 30-1 actually. That was a killer.
It was. It got done on the line. Then I bet Liverpool to win to 0 against Ipswich. 4-0 up cruising. Last kick of the game, 92 minutes. Ipswich scored. And then at the weekend, an hour and a half away from where we are now, where it's about a beautiful sort of 18 degrees or so, sun shining, lovely. It was absolutely freezing in South London. I was walking the dog near Crystal Palace Football Club. The rain was bashing on my face. It was ice. It was freezing. I played under 2.5 goals, Brentford. I come home. It went to 2.75.
Was it 0-0 at half time?
There wasn't a shot on target.
The 0-0 detector was red hot.
They've taken it away from me at customs. I couldn't bring it into France. Thank God for that. It was absolutely buzzing like mad. And what I did, I went in again and again and again. At half time, I went in under 1.5. I bet everything. And then there was 3 goals in the last 25 minutes of the match killed me. So I've had the baddest beat. And I've had the worst start to a year I can remember for probably 15 years.
We're gonna be all right.
And I bet a 70-1 winner in the golf. And I still had the worst week ever.
2 weeks ago, you were telling me like life was good, 70-1 winner in the golf.
That's why I've come here, Neil, to get away from the stresses.
Don't worry, Sean is going to save us.
We are going to have it all next week on the tennis. A couple of little things we want to talk about as well. A couple of subjects we are going to say. Something caught Neil's attention on X. We're going to bring that up in a minute. We've got a couple of emails from people, various different things. We'll talk about strategies. We talk about the way we approach our betting. One of the guys sent me a message on Instagram, and he basically was talking about bankroll management. And a lot of people have mentioned bankroll management in the past, spoken about how we treat bankroll management. But a lot of people don't have the bankroll to start with. You know, you start with. And this particular question was what tips would you do if you were starting off fresh here and you wanted to build a bankroll up? Where would you start with your bankroll? What sort of angles would you trade? Would you look at various different things? How would you sort of build a bankroll? If someone's watching this show, they want to build a bankroll up. What tips to start off with at the very beginning before you sort of get that sort of decent bankroll you can kick on with your betting?
Well, I think first of all, I think people tend to think, well, I need a big chunk of money. If you're just betting recreationally and you keep some money separate for your hobby of betting, separate from your day-to-day bills, it doesn't have to be tens of thousands. Like if you find a winning thing that makes you money. I sometimes see people go, "Oh God, I could win if only I had more money to start off with. I need to start with 20 grand because, whatever reason." You can play small. I mean, you could, if you've got a winning system, the money should flow through eventually, and you'll build up your bankroll.
I think the other thing, sorry, Neil. I think the other thing is that people watch this show and think that you and I are betting big volumes. I mean, in our past we have done volumes, but you sort of adjust your volumes to the circumstances.
Well, I bet high volume, quite lowish stakes, really. I mean, a lot of my stakes are 3-figure bets. I'm not betting 5-figure bets. Whereas, maybe I used to bet 5-figure bets every now and then. Now that doesn't really happen at all because actually every day I'm involved in a dozen different things for 3-figure amounts. So it's, I'm doing a very high volume of turnover for quite a small margin, really. And, I bet loads of losers every single day. But I do that for several reasons, largely to do with getting on. I have bookmakers that look at me and think, "Oh, this guy must be an idiot. He just loses all the time." Because that's how it works. I'm betting with like 20 different people. And some of them I've had a phenomenal run and I look like a genius. And some of them I look like an idiot because, if I'm having 30 bets a day, and I'm winning 16 and losing 14 or something like that, 30 bets a day, then it's possible that all the losers are with one guy and all the winners are with another guy. I don't have a problem with that. It's better for me. It makes it easier for me to get my bets on. People that I do business with look at it and think, well, he's an action junkie. He likes to play, and they want to take you on in that situation because most bookmakers think that someone that's giving them plenty of turnover, they're giving them a chance to get their money back. If you come and hit somebody once a week when you really have something and the price gets smashed off the board, and you have it's obvious that you had a huge edge in the bet, win or lose, they don't welcome you back very often. So, I've adapted because of that. If you're in a situation where you don't need to worry about that and you can just concentrate on playing when you have the huge edge, well, that's fine, but it won't last that long because, people don't want to take your action. In terms of the building up, though, I think, I've said it a million times on here, and I'll repeat it again. That I think it's important to keep your small bread and butter day-to-day bets pretty small, so that the relationship between, if I see something that I think, well, that should be minus $1.50 and it's plus 110. That's a huge edge, huge. That if I can get that kind of edge, that is incredible. I don't see anything. I see something like that like once every 6 weeks. I'm having 30 bets in a day, and it takes me 6 weeks to see something like that. I have to make sure that when I see something like that, I'm having enough on to cover all the other business I'm doing and to make sure that those are the bets where I really get my income.
I think the question here, though,
which means that my smaller bets have to be really small.
So this guy in particular may say start with $100. If he sees an opportunity where he's he gets something that should be minus 150 and he's betting it at plus 110, he doesn't want to go in it, just have the whole $100 on, just in case that the bet loses and he wipes out his bank. So for this question, I think it's like you've got $100 to start with. What would what would you do? And
Well, I mean,
you can't just go and have $60, $70. You got to look at the sport. I think you're confident
in poker tournaments, they would say to you, never put more than 3% of your bank into one tournament. So if you're playing $100 tournaments, $100 to be 3% of your bank means your bank has to be $3,300. Is that right?
Yeah.
So unless you've got that kind of tank, you shouldn't be playing $100 tournaments. You should, if you've only got a tank of $1,000, well then you should be playing tournaments that are sort of $25 or something like that. Obviously, if a tournament's got a big overlay in it or something like that, where you're getting exceptional edge, you can risk a bit more. I think you can think of gambling in a similar way. If you're betting on golf, for example, where it's really hard to have a winner, the favourite in the tournament might be, plus 900 or something like that. You may only bet a winner every 6 weeks to 3 months or something, but sometimes you'll have a winner at 100 to 1 odds or something like that. You don't want to have a risk of ruin. You can't be betting 5% of your bankroll on every tournament, because most tournaments you're going to draw a blank. When you do have a winner, it's going to be brilliant. So if golf outright is your thing, you should bet quite small. But if you're betting on tennis matches, well, if you've got a reasonable edge and you have a clue about what you're doing, it's going to be, if you bet underdogs and you're betting a lot of plus 110, plus 120, plus 130 players, maybe you're going to win half the time. Maybe you're going to win 45% of the time, somewhere in that region. And that because of the little bit of juice you're getting on each bet, you're going to make a profit doing that. But it's going to be loser, winner, loser, winner, loser, winner, 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 loser, loser. That's going to be the pattern of your results. So it's going to look like there's not much in it either way, but you're going to make a profit in the long run because you're just nicking a bit. So you can play a bigger proportion of your bank in that situation.
So if someone from England or someone from America started with $100, £100, if they were betting 10 football teams at the weekend in the Premier League or across English soccer or horses or tennis matches, all around about even money. Well, you should just have a £10.
Yeah. You could invest the whole lot, because it's very unlikely you're going to have 10 losers. Most likely you're going to have 7-3 one way or the other, or 6-4 one way or the other, or 5-5. That's the most likely range of outcomes. And obviously, if you're getting the plus money, even if you lose 7-3, but you bet 3 winners at plus 130, plus 140, plus 150, you're going to break even. So, you can invest your whole bankroll there. And obviously that sounds a bit rash, doesn't it? Like,
it's not really.
I'm all in on the weekend.
It's not. But that is a sensible strategy when you're betting like football. But if you're having the whole bankroll on 3 golfers in the Abu Dhabi Masters at 10 to 1 the field, that's erratic.
Yeah.
Of
course, when it's one match after the other, if there's a match on Friday night, a match on Saturday, a match on Sunday, well, now it gets a bit harder, doesn't it? Because now the temptation is to say, well, I'll have a third of my bankroll on the first one, and then I'll be set up for a free roll weekend. You need to have the discipline to say, well, it doesn't make any difference whether they all kick off at the same time on Saturday afternoon, or whether I've got that option of betting a lot more because one's on Friday, one's on Saturday,
the other part of that is that if you've put your $100 on, and you've got bets on Sunday and Monday, and your Saturday is a good day, you're gonna double up on the Sunday and Monday.
Well, that's the other thing. Then you start, afterwards, when you're analysing the decision process that you made, you have to say, well, what the hell was I doing here? I've ended up having 4 times as much on the Sunday one, but just because I had a really good Friday and Saturday. Was that really 4 times as good a bet? No, of course it wasn't. I changed my betting according to how I was winning or losing. And the flip side of that is, of course, sometimes on Sunday you'll be like, well, I'm tapped out now. I lost all my money on Saturday. I can't even bet on the 2 games on Sunday. And of course, in that situation, they always win. Yeah. So this is why bankroll management is important. You need to keep yourself in the game. And really, you know, I think I've said that before on this program, but a good idea is to write down in advance or type into your spreadsheet, these are the bets I'm going to have.
Show your age there, Neil. Write down.
Yeah, I know. Write down on the back of the cigarette packet. Type on your spreadsheet, here's my weekend bets, and then just stick to it. Make sure you stick to it.
I think the other thing as well is that, and what about this for strategy? You say that maybe the big bet doesn't come around. It doesn't come around. It might come around every 4 to 5 weeks.
Yeah.
Say, for example, you start with £100, $100. Week 1, you win $15, but week 2, $30.
Yeah.
Like, so you've your cumulative $30.
Yeah.
Week 3, you lose 10, you're $20. Week 4, you're $45. Like, you're betting your tenors.
Yeah.
Then an opportunity comes around where there is that price. A strategy may be to bet the 45 profit on that big one.
There's nothing wrong with that. I mean,
to play with their money on the big one.
Some people would say that, you know, say for example, you decide that on every soccer match, if you're doing soccer, on every soccer match, you're going to bet 10% of your bankroll. You start with $100, so you're betting a tenner on each match. After 3 or 4 weeks, your bankroll is $160. You've had a good run. Now, a lot of people would say, well, I think it's a good idea now. 10% of your bankroll is $16. Yeah. So you should bet 16 each time. I don't have a problem with that. But of course, if you look at a graph over the year, it's going to be up, down, up, down, up, down. Well, just because you were up the week before, you're betting 16. And then because you're down the week after, you're only betting 7 or something like that. This is not going to work too well, because actually, if you look at a long-term winner, their graph is going to go like that all the way up and down. And if you're reliant now on having 2 consecutive winning weeks instead of just looking at how you do over the pattern, so I think you should only increase to 10% of what it is now after a period of time. Yeah, maybe you say, maybe when you've doubled your bank, or each month if you're consistently having winning months or something like that, rather than just continually updating it.
Well, if you continue to update, it's going to more or less level itself out over a period of time. If you're betting to 2% margin, you're just going to...
Well, obviously, if you go on a tear up, that's a really good way of doing it. It's going to work out better. But if you fluctuate a lot, that's actually not a good way of doing it.
I like the idea of just being steady and consistent, and then having a big old lump on the one that you...
Well, you should definitely play bigger on the bigger
with their money.
Yeah, for sure.
But obviously, your psychology is different if you go behind. I mean,
let me get the tweet thread from Rufus. So there's this guy on the internet.
Yeah, so Neil's found something. You were speaking about it over lunch, and this one you wanted to talk about it on. So hopefully that answered the question here about the bankroll management. And tell you about that. You found something, Rufus Peabody.
Well, I thought this was interesting because it kind of ties in with it. So Rufus Peabody is a professional gambler. He's very well known, very respected. I've got a lot of time for reading his stuff. I think he's a very interesting guy, knows what he's talking about. And he was talking about bet sizing generally. And his opening statement was, bet sizing isn't just math. A bit American there for you. We would say maths in the UK. It's philosophy, psychology, and understanding the market. And I thought this was interesting. There's a whole thread about it. If you look on Rufus's Twitter, you can probably find it. But the first thing he said was he likes to look at bets where the edge to him, he's worked out his edge, and he's got experience, and he can know when it's good for him, is 3%. So he likes to feel that he sets the price that he would take in his mind, the price that he thinks is the correct price, and he looks at the price offered from the market, and if it's 3% to him, now it's a bet. He doesn't bet unless, but that's very reasonable. That seems fair enough. 3% seems like a good kind of a margin of error, because he may have made a mistake on whether it's in his favour or not. Now, you can look at this thing, Kelly criterion, which is this kind of systematic way of increasing your stakes. And Kelly would say that you increase your stakes depending on the edge. So if you've got a 3% edge, and this is your bankroll, there's a set amount that Kelly would say you should bet. And if you know for a fact that your edge is 5%, then Kelly suggests betting more. And if it's only 2%, Kelly suggests betting less. Now, most people would agree that if you follow Kelly religiously, the heart pills are going to take a battering, because it's very swingy. Kelly is quite an aggressive way. The idea of Kelly is that it's a mathematical way of optimizing your bankroll in order to grow it as quickly as possible according to your edge. But most people would say it's too volatile, it's too scary. If you follow Kelly religiously, you're going to get grey hair quite quickly. And a lot of punters would say, well, you should just go with half Kelly. But anyway, irrespective of that, he looks at Kelly and he looks at the scale. But he says that, and this was the thing that I picked up on that I thought was quite interesting. He said, well, what happens when there's market resistance? Now, for maybe an average punter who maybe just bets with Bet Rivers, doesn't really bet with anybody else, and bets in $10, this is not really a factor. You know, I'm looking at a soccer match or something, it's plus $1.50. I go on to bet, I think it should be plus $1.30. I go on to Bet Rivers, I have one of my bigger bets of the month. The price is still there at $1.50. But if you're a slightly bigger punter, say you bet in 4-figure amounts, and maybe you have to bet on betting exchanges to get on, you'll find a situation where maybe there's a tennis match. You know, here in Montpellier, it's a 250 tournament, so the markets are not super liquid. There's not huge amounts available, and you know, if I want to bet $200, it's not immediate that I'm going to get matched on an exchange. And if I go to a sports book, maybe they're going to offer me plus 130. Maybe the exchange will have plus 138. But the exchange price will only be there for 20 quid or $30 or something like that. It's not going to be, you know, I can't have thousands on at the price, and it's going to be quite volatile. Some of these players are injured. The prices move up and down a lot. There's little gambles going on. And he said, if you meet resistance, basically he's saying that when you try and press up, if you get matched immediately and you can have whatever you want on, it's because you've made a mistake. If you put you know, you got 10 tennis matches and you try and put 1,000 on each of them, and you only get matched on 8 out of the 10, the 2 that you don't get matched on, they're the 2 you really want to be on, because those ones, the market agrees with you. And the one that you got matched instantly and suddenly a whole load more money appeared, that's probably the one where you made a mistake. And, you know, maybe that's an injury that you didn't really know about, or there's something going on there. But in these markets, you know, they can know more than you.
Well, we've seen that today on the tennis today. We've seen that today. We've bet a game.
We played a game, yeah.
Bashilashvili against Kukushkin.
Yeah.
Plus 150 for.
And he kind of drifted, didn't he, Kukushkin? Yeah. He drifted 130 out to 180.
Yeah. And he's gone to from 130 to plus 190 on the off.
Yeah.
Got matched quite easy at the plus 140, and he's pulled out he got injured in the third set.
Yeah, he was losing 5-love in the third set.
That's dodgy in itself. That's dodgy in itself. Someone putting out 5-0. Yeah, always dodgy.
I mean, the other thing he says that, you know, he thinks that market resistance gives you information that if you have a 5% edge, that can cause a market movement. But the thing, you know, if he makes his normal bet on a 5% edge, there'll be a market movement.
I followed market movements for years, on exchanges over in the UK. I followed market moves. 10 years ago, market movers, you could pretty much guarantee were the right thing to do, but not necessarily on football. I'm talking about British horse racing. Football's different. I mean, that's governed by the big syndicates, you know, British horse racing. But now, I think the market is so manipulated that the market movers, 10 minutes before a horse race, are the ones that you think might be bet, but they're the ones that drift right. The market 2 minutes before the horse race is as solid and as strong as ever.
Well, it's quite
I think these are great. This is a great principle in terms of tennis. In terms of,
I thought it was a really good thread because actually I think it does depend on what sport. I mean, I find actually that I'm looking a lot. I think I fare a lot better in illiquid markets than I do in liquid markets. I think if I focused on betting, you know, 1-2x on the soccer at 10 minutes to 3 on a Saturday, I think I'll be struggling to win.
Yeah.
But if you give me a tennis match 24 hours before the game, this is a very illiquid market. There's a couple of odds makers have put up prices. Nobody really knows what the right price is. And I just think, there's just a lot more edge there, isn't there?
Well,
because you can sort of, I think you're very good at knowing what a correct price is in tennis. And 24 hours before the game, I think people are just stumbling in the dark.
I've mentioned that before here. I mentioned it to you before because I used to find that I made more money before betting exchanges when I thought it was my opinion against somebody else. When the betting exchanges come up and the market is so different from your original, you question your own opinion. And then and sometimes that goes back to your point where you make something plus 150, you can bet it at plus 190, maybe $2 sometimes. That should be the time in your theory we should have more on. But then you see the doubt in your mind, thinking, well, there's something I don't know. But I'll tell you a story. I used to seed some markets for a bookmaker in the UK on tennis. Yeah. So we put low liquidity up, and it would be like, say it was plus 150 and minus 166 or minus 4 to 6, minus 150 and plus 120.
You put up minus 170 plus 130.
But like £3, £4, £5. Yeah. And then in the morning, you used to basically see what you've been matched. Yeah. But I used to fill the box. So there was a lot of people doing it. So we used to populate the 3 boxes. Sure. I'd wake up in the morning and pretty much every single box that got wiped out, if there was 20 matches in a day, and I got wiped out 16 of the matches were wiped out. The strike rate was about 90% of that price. And the bookmaker
that was the sharp money.
Yeah, the bookmaker in question, their strategy was whatever you've taken at
where they've swept you. We want to be that way.
We just bet it. Yeah. We bet the other side. Yeah, so even if we've just filled all the boxes and we're people are betting 1.8 with us, and it's now 1.5. We bet it at 1.5. And the strike rate was absolutely phenomenal. How many? But it was literally £7, £4, £5. But it looked as though someone was playing it, and it was wiped out all the time. And that showed me then exactly that point that the ones that you want to get matched on, you got a strong opinion you can't get matched on. It's a question, but it sort of goes back in terms of the argument.
That's a really interesting thread from Rufus. Thanks for that. If we get you to watch this, Rufus, thanks for that. I thought there was another interesting point about it, which was the kind of reversion to the mean and the in-running. So you get a situation, he was talking about Right Angle Sports, which is a tipping thing in the States, a pick selling site. And they're very smart people, and I'm sure you would make a profit if you followed them. The problem is they got too many customers. So if they put out a total on college sports and say, we have to be on the over here at 50.5, by the time you've blinked, if you stop to kind of, scratch your balls in between before you had a bet, it's 53. Well, okay, I liked it at 50.5. Do I like it at 53? So there's, I'm not having a go at them. Obviously, they're the victim of their own success. They got slightly too many customers, and they're so successful that their customers really follow them in. But what do you do when it's kickoff time? Do we make our model start at 53, or do we make our model say, well, we should go somewhere in the middle, because actually it's not really 53. 53 is partly just because this is a very successful pick selling site, and the move, maybe the 50.5 was wrong, but surely the move from 52 to 53 has only come because of the following the steam. It's the people that have those people had a good bet, the ones that went over 52.5.
I personally think you have to put the closing line in, but just factor in that you think.
But was it a real closing line, or is it a false closing line?
Well, we could question that about anything. What is a closing line? You'll start questioning, but it is the closing line. I think you have to put the closing line in, but then in your head you've got to think to yourself, this is always going to be over factored for the over, and then an opportunity to play an even better price might arise at some stage.
But then also, like taking it back to the Super Bowl, we were talking about the Super Bowl before. I think it's quite clear that in this particular Super Bowl, Kansas are going to be the public team and Philadelphia are going to be the professional team. That's just, the wise guys are going to play Philadelphia and the public are going to play Kansas. I think I'm obviously, there are hundreds of betting syndicates and they all have different strategies. and I'm sure some of them will find a case for backing Kansas. But I think at 2, professional money will come for the Eagles and recreational money will come for the Chiefs. Is the real line 1.5, therefore? If, say, the line on the Sunday afternoon of the Super Bowl moves to 2.5, it's not a big move because obviously 2 is not, well, it's not a key number, it's an important number, but it's not 3 and it's not 7. But, if the line moves from 2 to 2.5, it's moving because of public money. It's not moving because the chance of Kansas winning.
Yeah, but I think
has
that.
changed.
When you're doing your model, that this is artificial. I mean, when we used to work together, we used to have, I used to trade tennis and I used to trade snooker. And we would know the model would tell you a price, but you knew that the public would always want to be getting with the guy chasing. So you were making the price.
When you're setting your starting point for the in-running,
I always put the start price because
did you start from where the recreational money had moved it, or do you start to what?
Well, I think it's different.
Correct price.
Well, I think it's 2 different ways of looking at it. I think if you're a bookmaker, you have to put it in where you close your line, because 9 times out of 10, the money that comes in play is people still chasing on the back of where they've seen the money go. Yeah. I think if you're a bettor, then you have to put it in the original price. So I think it's 2 different kinds of strategies.
I actually think you're right, but I think it's interesting. I think it's tricky. I think it's
knowing the market.
I think it's a great thread, by the way. And I really recommend people going to read it. And honestly, I hope you are watching, Rufus. If you're watching, we appreciate it because you gave us something good to talk about on the dojo. And I still don't really know the answer to any of the questions, but I thought you asked some good questions. And there's not enough of that in sports gambling on the internet, I think.
The one thing I'm still trying to find out was whether I placed a bad bet on that under 3 goals in that Crystal Palace game in the market. I got matched very easy. The rain and freezing cold fog was on my man, and I got matched very easy. And when I come home, it went 2.753. Someone must have known something somewhere. They must have seen this silly man walking a dog got on his phone telling everyone about the under.
You could have been all out for a profit by half time.
Greed. That's all it is. It's just greed. I hope you've enjoyed it. That's the Betting Dojo here on location over in Montpellier. If you've got any questions or any suggestions you want us to talk about, anything that you want to give it here, we might do this again. Come over here again. I think it's quite more reasonable. It's pretty do this. I hope you've enjoyed it face to face.
How do we not go to Australia?
Well, I know, and I think we might have to do this sort of in the summertime. Sitting there from a location, have a nice little couple of nice bit of food and
Rome. Do they have a tennis in Rome?
Yeah, we will. I'm there this year with Simon Holden. What could possibly go wrong?
I mean, Simon gets invited, but not me. Well, I don't know.
You can come.
Dojo on the road.
What we got to do, Neil? Where these guys got to go?
If you're interested in this kind of material, you should hit subscribe because you can join us every week. Do join us on the Dojo. And press like for sure. I think we're still getting like only 10% of people that watch the video press like. I don't know what's going on. Do you not like it? The other people, you're insane. Watch every week. Make comments in the box if you found any of that interesting. Maybe if anyone had a read of Rufus's thread and read it differently to me or had more thoughts on it, I'll be interested to hear because I thought it was a really interesting topic. That,
as I said before on this show, only 60% of the people who watch this are actually subscribers. So come on, hit that subscribe button. It's terrible.
Shocking.
Hit that subscribe button.
Disgrace.
Listen, we could go, if you could subscribe more, I could go a little bit more than £29.99 to Montpellier.
We can go to Rome.
We go Rome, £49.99.
Unbelievable.
We'll have a good old time there. Loads of content coming here on Betting Weekly Studios. We've got Champions League action this midweek. We also have the Premier League back at the weekend. Loads of action as well as the tennis here in Montpellier. You can follow mine and Neil's adventures tomorrow on our Instagram account at Because We Win. If we hear anything courtside, we're putting it on there as well. Give us a follow on our Instagram account. Follow us on all across our socials at Because We Win. And the most important thing you've got to do is please hit that subscribe button. Ring that bell. Every time you click that little bell, every time a little bit of content drops, you get notified about it. And you'll be able to follow our journey here and follow all the great content we have from the brilliant team we have built here at the Betting Weekly Studios. Okay, that's it for this week. A special one on location. It's usually out on a Monday. We'll be back next Monday, but we'll be doing it from my office. Neil will be back in it. And we'll be back to the normal subjects. But if you've got any subjects, anything you want to talk about, put us in the comments button below. Any questions you have, feel free to message and we'll speak to them. That's it. What do I do now? See you. Au revoir. That was it.